No hospitals, no vaccines, no baby formula, no car seats, no baby monitors, no child-proof anything. Freezing winters, scorching summers, predators in the wild, and diseases with no known cure. By every modern standard, raising a child in this world should have been nearly impossible. And yet, Native American communities raised generations of children, strong, healthy, resilient children, using nothing but knowledge passed down through hundreds of years of trial, error, and survival. So how did they actually do it? How did parents keep their children alive in a world with absolutely no safety net? The answer involves some of the smartest parenting and survival systems in human history, and some of it might genuinely change how you think about raising kids today. Let's start with one of the most iconic and widely used tools in Native American parenting, the cradleboard. A cradleboard was essentially a flat, rigid frame, usually made of wood, onto which a baby was securely wrapped, often with soft hide, blankets, or moss for cushioning. The baby would be tightly but comfortably bound to this board, kept upright, or carried on the mother's back, chest, or propped nearby during daily activities. This wasn't just a convenient carrying method. It was a survival tool. Mothers needed both hands free constantly, to hunt, to gather food, to cook, to travel, to build shelter. A cradleboard meant a baby could safely stay close to their mother at all times, without slowing down essential daily work. The design also had real safety benefits. Being securely wrapped kept babies warm in freezing temperatures, protected from insects, and safe from falls or accidental injury while their mothers moved through rough terrain. Some cradleboards even had a protective curved hood over the baby's head, acting almost like a built-in helmet, in case the board tipped over or was accidentally bumped. Interestingly, modern pediatric research has found that the kind of secure, snug wrapping used in cradleboards is remarkably similar to modern swaddling techniques, which are still recommended today to help newborns feel calm, sleep better, and regulate their body temperature. What seems like an old-fashioned tool was actually based on solid, intuitive understanding of infant comfort and safety, centuries before modern science explained why it worked. Here's something that might be the single biggest difference between how children were raised then versus now. Parenting was never just two people's job. In most Native American tribes, raising children was treated as a collective, community-wide responsibility. Grandparents, aunts, uncles, and even unrelated community elders all played active roles in a child's upbringing. If a mother needed to hunt, travel, or rest, there was almost always another trusted adult ready to step in. This wasn't just helpful, it was a critical survival mechanism. In a world with no guaranteed safety net, illness, injury, or death could strike any parent at any time. A community-based system meant that no child was ever left without care, even if something happened to their immediate parents. Elders, in particular, played an enormous role. Grandparents often took on significant daily childcare responsibilities, while also serving as the primary keepers and teachers of tribal history, survival skills, and oral tradition. Many children learned essential life skills: how to track animals, identify edible plants, build shelter, or treat injuries, directly from grandparents and elders, not just from their parents. This community-based model also meant children grew up surrounded by multiple trusted adults, multiple role models, and a strong built-in support system, something modern parenting researchers now refer to as crucial for healthy child development, often citing the phrase, "it takes a village," without realizing how literally true that was for many Native communities. Here's something that surprises a lot of people. A huge portion of how Native American children learned critical survival skills wasn't through strict lessons or lectures. It was through play. Children were often given small, scaled-down versions of real tools, miniature bows and arrows, small digging sticks, tiny baskets for gathering, and encouraged to practice real skills through games and imitation. Boys might practice tracking, stalking, and shooting through hunting games with friends. Girls might practice gathering, food preparation, and weaving through structured play activities, often guided by older girls or women. This wasn't random fun. It was deliberate, generational teaching disguised as play. By the time a child reached early adolescence, they had often already spent years practicing real survival skills in low-stakes, playful environments, meaning they were already competent by the time their lives genuinely depended on these abilities. This approach mirrors something modern educational psychology has only recently confirmed. Children learn complex skills far more effectively through hands-on, playful practice than through passive instruction. Native American communities were applying this principle long before it had a name. Without hospitals or modern medicine, how did parents handle childhood illness and injury? This is where deep, generational knowledge of plants and natural remedies became absolutely essential. Different tribes across different regions developed extensive knowledge of local medicinal plants specifically suited to treating children. Willow bark, for example, contains a natural compound chemically similar to aspirin and was widely used to help reduce fever and pain. Remarkably, modern aspirin was later developed based on the very same compound found in willow bark. Certain teas made from herbs like chamomile, mint, or various root barks were used to settle upset stomachs, a common and potentially dangerous issue for young children, especially involving dehydration. Specific plants with natural antiseptic properties were used to clean and treat wounds, preventing infection in a world without antibiotics. This wasn't guesswork passed down vaguely. This was specific, tested, region by region herbal knowledge, refined over countless generations, and passed down primarily through women, who typically held primary responsibility for child health and herbal medicine within many tribes. It's important to be honest here too. Child mortality rates, by modern standards, were still significantly higher than today. Disease, harsh conditions, and the complete absence of modern medical intervention meant real, tragic losses did happen. But the survival systems in place were remarkably sophisticated for the tools and knowledge available, and many of the natural remedies used have since been validated by modern science. Physical survival was only part of the picture. Native American parenting also placed enormous emphasis on emotional resilience, discipline, and connection to community and nature, qualities considered just as essential for long-term survival as physical skills. Storytelling played a massive role here. Oral traditions, myths, legends, and moral stories told around the fire, usually by elders, weren't just entertainment. They carried embedded lessons about courage, patience, respect, and survival, teaching children how to handle fear, loss, and hardship long before they faced those situations directly in real life. Discipline in many tribes also looked different from common modern Western approaches. Rather than relying heavily on punishment, many native parenting traditions emphasized teaching through natural consequences, storytelling, and gentle correction, while still maintaining clear expectations and respect for elders and community structure. Children were also taught, from a very young age, to see themselves as part of something larger than just their individual family, connected to community, to ancestors, and to the natural world around them. This sense of deep belonging is something modern child psychologists now recognize as a major protective factor for mental health and resilience, particularly in high-stress or high-risk environments. When you put all of this together, secure attachment through cradleboards, a wide community support system, skill building through play, deep natural medicine knowledge, and intentional emotional and spiritual development, a clear picture starts to emerge. Native American approaches to raising children weren't primitive improvisation. They were sophisticated, deeply tested systems, refined over countless generations, addressing nearly every major area modern parenting experts still focus on today: secure attachment, community support, practical skill development, health and medicine, and emotional resilience. In many ways, modern Western parenting, often isolated to a single household, frequently disconnected from extended family, and increasingly reliant on screens rather than hands-on skill building, has actually drifted away from several of these proven, time-tested principles, only to slowly rediscover their value through modern research, decades or centuries later. So the next time you think about what it takes to raise a healthy, resilient child, remember this: long before parenting books, child psychologists, or pediatricians existed, Native American communities had already figured out many of the answers. Built on community, connection, practical skill, and deep respect for both children and the knowledge passed down to protect them. Maybe the most advanced parenting system isn't the newest one. Maybe it's one of the oldest. If this gave you a new perspective, let me know in the comments. And subscribe for more deep dives into the real history behind how humans actually survived.